Janet Yellen, or as I like to call her, Grandma Death, that's a Donnie Darko reference for all you recovering scene kids out there, was asked today a question that, well, if you tune into That's Based this Saturday, it's on outlawstreamers.com, available on video on Rumble, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio, a question that I posed in the upcoming show, and it was a good question. We'll show you the video in a second here. Before we do that, please like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, share the video around if you're feeling generous. Like I said, my show That's Based with Caleb Salvatore drops every Saturday. We got an in-depth take on this whole banking nonsense coming out this Saturday. Outlawstreamers.com, Rumble, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Follow my socials. Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram. Caleb Salvatore Comedy on TikTok. Check this video out real quick, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be back in a couple minutes with my spiel.
Don't have time. I need to be able to drill in on a couple of things. Let me start with some of the banking issues we're dealing with on it. Will the deposits in every community bank in Oklahoma, regardless of their size, be fully insured now? Are they fully recovered? Every bank, every community bank in Oklahoma, regardless of the size of the deposit, will they get the same treatment that SVBP just got or Signature Bank just got?
A bank only gets that treatment if a majority of the FDIC board, a supermajority of the Fed board, and I, in consultation with the president, determine that the failure to protect uninsured depositors would create systemic risk and significant economic and financial consequences.
So what is your plan?
We made that determination.
Right. So what is your plan to keep large depositors from moving their funds out of community banks into the big banks? We have seen the mergers of banks over the past decade. I'm concerned you're about to accelerate that by encouraging anyone who has a large deposit in a community bank to say, we're not going to make you whole, but if you go to one of our preferred banks, we will make you whole at that point.
Look, I mean, that's certainly not something that we're encouraging.
That is happening right now.
That is happening because depositors are concerned about the bank failures that have happened and whether or not other banks could also
No, it's happening
and
because you're fully insured no matter what the amount is. If you're in a big bank, you're not fully insured if you're in a community bank.
Well, you're not fully insured. And
you were at Signature, and it just barely met that threshold. You were at Signature.
Well, we felt that there was a serious risk of contagion that could have brought down and triggered runs on many banks. And that's something, given that our judgment is that the banking system overall is safe and sound, depositors should have confidence in the system, and we took these actions.
So there's a special assessment that's been done on community banks in my state and all banks across the country. Was there any discussion that that special assessment would only apply to the larger banks, or was it always assumed the special assessment would cover every bank, including rural banks in my state?
I think I'm not certain what the rules are around that. That's for the FDIC to determine.
It has been reported publicly that SVB had a large number of Chinese investors that are there, including some that were companies directly connected to the Chinese Communist Party. Will those individuals, companies, entities, and investors that are Chinese investors be made whole based on assessments in my banks in Oklahoma? So what I'm asking is, will my banks in Oklahoma pay a special assessment to be able to make Chinese investors whole from Silicon Valley Bank?
Uninsured investors will be made whole in that bank, and I suppose that could include foreign depositors, but I don't believe there's any legal basis to discriminate among uninsured.
I get it, but I'm just saying my community banks are going to pay this additional fee. It is always fascinating to me as well, the conversation that taxpayers are being made whole in this, that taxpayers are not going to have any kind of consequence on this. I'm sure my bankers are going to be very excited to know they no longer pay taxes, and their banks no longer pay taxes. Credit unions don't pay taxes, banks do, and so they're definitely taxpayers as well, and all banks make their revenue off of rates and fees and such to their account holders, which means every Oklahoman will pay higher fees in their community bank.
We're just going to have to move on.
If we have a collapse of the banking system and its economic consequences, that will have very severe effects on banks in Oklahoma that will also be threatened.
I'm just worried about the long-term
We are going to have to
consequences
move
on our
on,
banks as well.
or we're not going to get all senators in. Senator Cortez Masto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So right there, she was asked if it were a bank in Oklahoma that had depositors, a smaller bank in Oklahoma that had depositors in the same situation as SVB, would they bail them out the same way? And she more or less said, yeah, piss off, no. That wouldn't happen. It's only if they determine that it's systematically necessary, that bank is. And what determines that? Who knows? Are they Democratic donors in the bank? I don't know what determines that. But nonetheless, she said no. We would not back up a small bank like that in Oklahoma or any red state for that matter. And it really does just lead you into the regime's bigger plan, their grand scheme here. The grand scheme's been made clear for years. They want a social credit system like they have in China. Now, they can't arrest you for having the wrong opinion. That pesky First Amendment is still in the way. No matter how much it pains them to say it, the pesky First Amendment is still here. But they can basically cancel you in just about every other way by debanking you. So the goal here is to remove all of the faith from the regional, community, and smaller banks and credit unions and get all of the major deposit dollars taken over to the big banks, the Wells Fargos, the JP Morgan Chases, those types of banks. Once they're over there, those are the banks that have made it clear. I mean, plus they're already in the back pocket of most of the government. These banks are part of the regime. When I talk about the regime, these banks are part of it. They've made it very clear that they have no problem debanking people like Kanye West and Alex Jones. Now, no, you're not being put in jail, but when you've been debanked and there's only a couple major banks left in this country, what do you think is going to happen to you? You're basically canceled by your own government by proxy. We've already shown that they have no problem colluding with tech companies like they've done with Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. They have no problem doing that. So do you really don't think they're going to collude with financial companies next? Hey, that guy has the wrong opinion. Shut his accounts down. And you say, okay, well, they'll just go to cash. Nah, I don't think so. First off, you can't have a business where you can't have a business like this where you're just getting paid in cash. It simply doesn't work. You have to have a bank account for it. And also, even if you did, they've made it very clear that they intend to switch over to a virtual currency in the next 15 to 20 years, maybe less. They're already researching, they're looking into it right now. They're going to eradicate cash. They're going to make it so there's only a few banks, the banks that they have direct access to that'll be more than willing to debank you for wrong think. You can't have any cash. And then once you've been debanked and you don't have access to cash because everything's on a virtual currency, you literally starve. You starve to death or you go on welfare. You can't continue your business. You've been shut down. So the government has, by proxy, canceled you through crony capitalism, through controlling just a few major banks, through shifting all of the power over to them, eliminating competition. It's not actual capitalism. Don't even get me started on that. Eliminating competition and transferring the power over to a few small banks so they can shut your account down. And yeah, no, you're not in jail. But you're broke, you're homeless, you can't pay your bills, you can't feed your family, you might as well. You'd be literally better off if they just put you in jail for having the wrong opinion. At least you'd have somewhere to stay and something to eat there. But no, you have no cash, so you can't make any money even on doing side jobs. So now what? You're ruined, and you're completely dependent on them. It's how they keep you in line. It's how they develop a social credit score, just like they have in China. Did you guys not learn over the last couple years? Everything they do in China is the test run before they do it in the United States. Everything they do in China is the test run for what they're going to do here. It's less risky. Think of when you do let me think of an example. When they come up with a new drug, no, I'm not going to do that because I'll get yeeted off YouTube. When they come up with a new car, they have to put it through tests, right? They put it on a controlled test track because there's no traffic. So if the engine were to explode and burst into flames, it wouldn't kill a bunch of people out on the interstate. They put it on a track so they can get through all the kinks. They do the same thing in China because they're a lot less likely to get shot in the face for it. So they'll see just how far they can push people, and then they adjust it for the whole Second Amendment thing here. You know, the whole free speech thing here, the whole calling the government out on its BS thing here. And they adjust. And they come in a little bit more carefully. That's exactly what they're going to do here. You don't think the Biden administration and the regime as a whole is taking notes on China's social credit score? You don't think they've done a crash course on it? You don't think they're ready to usher that in immediately here? Give me a break. Give me a break. They're going to remove the competition, focus all the power and banking over to a few of their big cronies that are willing to just shut you down at the drop of a pin for having the wrong opinion. We know they already have contact with the government. We know they already have contact with the Biden administration. They're going to remove cash from the equation, so there's no way you can make money. They're going to ruin you. You are going to be canceled by your own government. And most of you, not most of you, 50% of the population went along with it because you just wanted to return to normalcy. Well, the trend on my episode this Saturday at That's Base that's coming up is that your sense of normalcy was bogus. And I'm critical of Trump. I'm not a huge Trump guy. I prefer him to Biden, but I'm not a huge Trump guy. The normalcy you were chasing was fake. Right now, we are at the inevitable conclusion of the nonsense path we've been going down for decades, under Clinton, under Bush, under Obama, would have been under Romney, would have been under McCain, and Joe Biden's finishing the job. They had a little bump in the road with Trump. He didn't want to go along with all the nonsense that they had with their ultimate endgame to destroy the United States and rebuild it into some dystopian hellhole like you see over in China. He didn't go along with all of those plans, but they got it back on track. And Joe Biden, by being just such an incompetent, dementia-ridden, brain-rotting fool, has managed to speed that process up even further. So your normalcy has been fake this entire time. The normalcy you sought after, the reason you voted for Joe Biden, I just wanted class to return to the White House. This is what class gets you. Congratulations. You did this to yourselves. You're going to be canceled by your own government, and they're not going to fire a single shot to do it. Buckle up. It's going to get nasty. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. What a happy way to end this. Like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, share around if you're feeling generous. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, Caleb Salvatore Comedy on TikTok. You can go That's Based with Caleb Salvatore. It airs every Saturday. Rumble, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. They don't let us post full episodes to YouTube. We do have clips of it here, so if you like it, go check them out. If you like it, watch the full episode. We have a little bit more fun on that show. We get serious, but it's like more of a comedy-themed show. You watch the full episode, you'll see why we can't post it to YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. Peace out, and stay based.